This is part of life sometimes, man. Things happen, people make mistakes. I know when I was younger, things happened while I was in relationships with people, and I didn't know how to handle it at the time. So I think that it happens. Well, because sometimes I look back, I'm like, if I would have knew what I knew now back then, yeah, things would have it would have went down differently.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, and I'm a little bit older. So it's one of those things where you start reflecting on the choices that you make, right? Because every choice you make has a consequence. I would say there's a consequence to the choice,
Yeah.
and I am the common denominator in all of my failed relationships. So it can't be the other people. If my relationships are failing, I'm the one in them. And so I just had to reflect back on decisions that I made, decisions that I did not make, and where I am right now. I still love my ex. Like,
Yeah.
we nothing terrible necessarily happened between us. It was just we both got to the point of realizing that we wanted different things and different paths. And as much as we were committed to the commitment, I will be honest, I was committed to him, but I wasn't committed to everything that came with him. And that's got to be difficult, right? Like, I love him, but I didn't love everything that came with him. And whether we like it or not, I used to hate this term. You get with somebody, the things that come with them, it's a package deal. And I ended up in a situation where it was a package deal, and I wish it was more a la carte. So,
Yeah. That that's and even that. So, like you said, certain things come with certain people, and you're not gonna know everything.
you don't until you're in it. And I think we have to show ourselves some grace, right? I walked into the relationship knowing certain things about him. But until we were living together and being together and experiencing the different seasons together, um, I didn't really get to see all of it. And so once we had experienced all of it, and then, my father passing away, different family things going on with him, custody battles, there's all of these things that we had to endure. I realized that I had bitten off a little too much for me. And
Yeah.
I think he also realized that, the life that I wanted wasn't one he was going to be able to provide. It's different when you go into a relationship with someone who does not have custody of his children. But when, a man is the custodial parent and you don't have, young children, like my daughter is almost 22. When we got together, she had just turned 19. And so I had done my parenting thing. And so getting with a man in theory with 4 kids seemed like I could do it. But then when you add the drama behind the 4 kids, it was just not something that I desired, because I desire peace, because I bring
Oh man.
peace. Right? I say to people, I'm like, listen, let me just be clear. I cannot promise a lot of things in a relationship, because life's, but I will promise a man 2 things: peace and leaving him better than I found him. Because that's what I want for myself. And so going into a situation, I couldn't love him past his trauma, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't love him past the drama. I couldn't love him past the decisions he had made that had gotten him to where he was. And I was trying to love him beyond all of that. And I think it came too much for me. And I had to be honest. I wanted him. I didn't want to help raise 4 children. I was done.
Yeah.
And they were young, right? Like, they weren't, the oldest is 13. The youngest is, I don't know, 5. I don't even know the ages
Oh.
of younger kids, but
Yeah,
like,
so that's
right?
like
And I have
ready.
and I
That's
have
like
an adult.
yeah,
So
that's like ready-made family.
yeah,
Yeah.
and again, in theory, people say you walked into a situation. I did. I walked in very much knowing he never hid his children. I walked in very much knowing that he had 4 children by 2 different women. But what I did not know is the havoc those women were going to try to cause in my life.
Oh yeah, that. Oh boy, my nephew he got a similar story. He left. Well, that's not. They don't. It's not even a baby mom. It's just an ex, and he got a new girl, and the ex wants to come back, and she gets up. She's upset because she actually saw the girl, and now I think she might have pulled up on the new girl somewhere. And I was like, "Yo, bro, you got to take control of that situation, bro. You can't let the ex screw up the new relationship. No, 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 no. That's like, to me, that's unacceptable. To
I
me,
agree. I think in theory, I think in his situation, they don't have children. So hallelujah for that. But whether we like it or not, once somebody procreates for you, right? Like you are tied in their life
yeah,
forever, right? My
yeah,
daughter's father and I are tied together
yeah,
forever until one of us passes, like we are tied together forever. I always jokingly say to him, I'm like, you're the only man on the face of this earth that can ever say you had sex with me because we have a child, right? Like
yeah,
there
yeah.
is the proof, right? And so now you've got two women, two sets of children tied together forever. I'm coming in this new biatch. Um, and it became a lot. And I think, you know what? I empathize with women who watch their ex go off and live a life publicly that they wanted with them privately. And that's what his
Hey,
ex,
why do you empathize with them? Why?
because you know what the situation is like. I was never a woman who felt having a baby for a man was like a way to keep him. But there are a lot of women
Yeah,
with that mindset. And my ex's ex, um, she was one of those women, the one with the younger set of children. I think she thought, having a baby or two babies for him was a way to come in and give him something. And so to give your womb to a man and to want a life with a man, and then you watch that man go off and give another woman the life you wanted with him privately, publicly, and I didn't have a high price of admission. I didn't have to have a baby for him. I didn't have to do anything. I showed up in his life and made his life better. I will say that. I showed up in his life and provided him peace and stability and protection and all of the things I feel like Black women need to give Black men. I showed up in that form. But for a lot of women with that mindset, this bitch didn't do a lot to deserve this. Here I am out here with his children, and he's giving this beepity beep the life I wanted with him, privately. So I've got to empathize because now you've found yourself in a situation where you have another man's seed trying to start a relationship with other men who don't want another man's seed. While your ex seems to have gone living his best life, showing up every week on a show with his, pretty women beside him, like looking great and talking about how good his life is. And you are got stuck with these two kids. Now, the other side of me goes, well, that ain't my problem. I don't really give a fuck. You should have closed your legs and not giving your womb to a man who didn't show up to be your husband. So there's that part of me that says that, but there's also the female side of me that gets, I understand when you love someone and you've given yourself to them and they're going out and having a life with someone else. And again, my price of admission was not high. And have babies. I don't believe in babies with multiple men. So that I would have never done.
oh,
I
no.
don't believe in it. I remember the disappointment in my father's eyes when I became an unwed mother, and I never wanted to see that look in my father's eyes again, right? And I've been blessed. My daughter is amazing. She's actually in Nice right now in France, living her best life. She's about to graduate, university on the dean's list. We're hoping her grades come back and she's cum laude. Like, I've done a great job. Like, I've invested into my daughter. My daughter is a national champion. She's been on TV across Canada because she's a competitive dancer. I know what it takes to raise an excellent child, and I wasn't going to do it multiple times. Definitely not for multiple men. So I fundamentally don't understand women who have children with multiple men. I can get the first child having a child and then marrying and
Yeah.
having another child for your husband. That's a situation my friends have found themselves in. We all had children young and then they remarried. Their husbands didn't have children until they had a child for their husband, but they're married, right? Like
Yeah.
together. And they didn't have a child right away. Like they settled, I think it was like 7 years into one marriage and like almost 17 years into another relationship that they did that, right? They didn't just willy-nilly just go, I think you're great and you're saying nice things, let me give you a baby. Like, ladies, like, children are not souvenirs you need to have with every relationship. Like,
Hey, what do you,
you get a baby.
what do you think about blended families?
I will tell you this. For me personally, I will never sign up to date a man with young children again. I think blended families can work. I come from a blended family.
Yeah.
I think it is extremely possible, but I think if I were to ever find myself in that, they would need to be such a cordial relationship between the exes. Like we would be able to have dinner together and show up and show the kids what that looks like. I'm never getting into a drama filled situation. Like I'm getting in with a mature grown woman who was like, the relationship didn't work out. I'm happy he's got someone and my children have a bonus mom. And let's sit down and let's talk about how we're going to, raise these kids together. But the drama and the million phone calls that I had to deal with and the terrible messages that I had to hear and the stalking me and the emailing me and the keeping your child from its father because he's moved on. Like I'm not dealing with that. So for my preference is to date men with older children because I have an older child and I will not date a man with more than 2 children and it has to be the same woman.
Yeah, I'm telling you a lot of that stuff, the drama, I'm telling you, a lot of that stuff is on the guy. It is the majority of it, And I'm from a blended family. My stepdad, he came through. He had how many kids? 9 kids. When he got married to my mom, and my mom had 7.
God bless y'all. So those are 16. I do math really well.
Yeah, and I was the youngest out of everybody on both sides.
Really?
Yeah.
Number 16.
Yeah, I was the youngest, and some of them lived in New York. Some of them, majority of them live in New York, and my brothers and sisters that were in South Carolina, everybody. So now it can be a little complex. It's because of the kids, in my experience. Now I didn't have any problem with my mom and my I don't even call him my stepdad. I just call him my dad because that's all I knew. You know what I'm saying? Because my biological dad, he got killed in a car accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I never knew him. I was a baby. So I call him my dad. Now here's where it gets complicated because the kids, they see me as a stepbrother. Mm-hmm. Not all of them, but some of them. Now they don't actually say that, but it's just how they treat me.
Yeah.
How they go about it. Like I give you an example. If somebody dies in my family, like say my aunt, there's a good chance they're not gonna show up at the funeral.
Really?
No.
Because they don't feel like that's their family.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, see, they have their favorites, right? I'm one of their favorites. I know this. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's just how it is, right? But I don't do that. If somebody dies on their side of the family, I show up regardless because I know everybody on that side. But some of them, they be like, "Hey, that's my stepbrother. I ain't obligated to show up." So that's where things get tricky at when it comes to the blended family. You know what I'm saying?
Complicated. Like it's because again, we're dealing with human emotions, right? Like all of this is complicated. And I have to be honest, I try to live a life that is as uncomplicated as possible.
Yeah.
Especially like for me, because I bring peace and tranquility to deal and operate in chaos is very difficult for me, right? Like I've worked
That's
really
anybody.
right? I worked really hard to create a life of peace and structure. I meditate. I tell people I meditate, I drink water, I work out, and I mind my business, right? Like I don't tend to get in to mix up, and I definitely am not bringing drama to the doorstep of a woman who doesn't deserve it, right? Like so I don't get it, but I understand how that gets really complicated. And what you're also dealing with is the mother of those 9 children, or mothers of those 9 children. You don't know what those mothers are
Well,
saying about the current situation, which the children are getting, and then they come into the house with you and your mom and the dad, and there's all of this
well,
stuff. Like I
but
don't
check
want
this
that.
out. Check this out. Their parents walked away, left them. She walked out and left him with all the kids.
Were they all with the same women?
Yeah.
Oh damn.
So she didn't even pay. She didn't have nothing to do with them. So she didn't even play a part in us coming together anyway. So it didn't even matter.
So one woman, 9 children, and she said, "Fuck them kids."
Fuck them. I'm out.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite.
Yeah. This happened.
Said, "Fuck them kids."
This happened in the '60s. Fuck them. I'm out. She left and left with some corporate dude that lived in North Carolina somewhere. It didn't work out though.
She said, "This life ain't for me. I don't want these kids." Did she ever come back?
No, he didn't ever come back. But my dad, he knew people that knew her. They had mutual friends. But I think it didn't work out with the new guy, and she ended up getting sick and died.
Oh my.
I don't know. Yeah. So it didn't work out. You're like, fuck them kids. I'm out.
She said, "Fuck them kids." Like that's a real definition of "fuck them kids." Like it's different when them kids aren't yours, but it's very different when they are yours, and you just say, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. This fuck this."
That's damn. So
This is why I was said in the beginning, choices have consequences. Like I didn't have one child by accident. That was purposeful.
yeah.
Right? Like I purposely, after having my child, protected my womb from all others. Again, one, I did not believe in having multiple baby daddies. And I also didn't want multiple children. Like I was very clear. I walked away from really good relationships and really good men because of that. I've had to live with that to this day. When a man came around and wanted children, it was an ex. Like it was just very much like, no, like I'm not the woman for you, because this is all I can manage. This is all I can do. I can't, like, you only have to do something once to realize you don't like it. And I love my child. She's a blessing, but motherhood, parenthood is a lifetime commitment, to keep doing this commitment over and over again. Like, no, it's not a contract I keep wanting to renew. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So we got to be mindful of the choices. And that's where I was in my relationship. I was mindful of the choice that marrying this man meant taking on everything that came with him, and fuck them kids. I don't want to be their mother. Like, I don't want my hard-earned money going to somebody else's children. Like, I completely get what Kevin Samuels says. Like, I was a huge Kevin Samuels fan, right? And I completely understand from a man's perspective, seeing a woman, this was basically if the reverse, it's a woman with 4 kids bringing these 4 little liabilities into your home, and like having them eat up your money, right? Like there's like now lint in your pocket because you fell in love with some woman who didn't protect her womb. Well, I fell in love with a man that didn't protect his seed, and I started looking around and saying, the future that I want and the future that we are potentially going to have, of me helping you raise children for the next 14 years, they don't align, sir. And I love you, but I gotta go.
Yeah. And I've always said that I would never get with a woman with kids. I'm never gonna do that shit. Never, ever, never, ever, never. Now somebody said, well, what if she got one? Well, I tell you what, if she got one, she better knock my socks off. I mean, but I'm not. If she got 2, forget about it. I'm not going to entertain that.
And I am a big believer that you carve out the relationship that you want.
Yeah.
right? And you stand your ground. And that's what I learned. Like, again, I love my ex, but I didn't love what came with him. And again, there was a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that I started going like, this is just not a burden that I'm willing to take on. And now that I'm out of that situation, I'm standing firm on the things that I want. I don't want a man with multiple children, and definitely not multiple baby mothers. If you have one child, great. If it's two, maybe. How old are the children? They can't be, under the age of really 18, 16, there's all of these different things that I don't want. And I think people should carve out the relationship they want. Like, you shouldn't be shamed at all for not wanting to date a certain type of people. And it's so interesting to me because as women, we can say we want a man who's over 6 feet tall, and we want to make a man that makes 6 figures, and we want a man to pay 100% of the bills, and we want that, we want this. But when a man says he won't date a certain type of woman, like, I don't want a BBW, or I don't want a woman with a BBL, or I don't want a woman who's at somebody's baby mom. It's like, oh my God, like, you're like,
Yeah.
it is carved out. I was having a conversation with someone today, and they were asking me a question about, they sent me a clip, and it was a guy asking a woman, would you rather date a basically broke loyal guy, and he wanted you to go big? No, would you rather date a loyal guy who wants you to go 50-50 on the bills, or date a man who will pay 100% of everything but cheat on you? And so he sends me the clip, and he's like, what's your thoughts? And I was like, do you really want my honesty? I'm like, I'm not paying 50-50 on shit. Like, I'm not the 50-50 woman. And if a man wants to pay 50-50, I'm not the woman for him. And he called me selfish. And I was like, you can call me what you want, but let me tell you something. The men who are courting me, when we have that conversation, they are very clear about the fact that that's the life that they would give me. They don't want a woman paying 50-50. I believe in gender roles. Like, my ex, he told you sat here with him twice. That man told you everything I did for him. He didn't even lotion his own skin, right? Like, I did everything. We were very clear about, like, my job was to take care of him and the home and everything that went with it. And yes, I had a job and I had a business and I have the shows and I have books, but he was my number one job. That was my job. And his job was to protect us and provide for us, right? Under that thing. That's the relationship we carved out. And I think to shame people for realistic wants and needs, like, if you're a man that doesn't have children, I do not encourage you to date a woman with children. You don't have children. I tell my stepbrother that. I said, do not bring these women around me with their children because you don't have kids. And they're not going to be my sister-in-law because they already gave up their womb. Bye. Like, he was dating a girl. He was actually fucking a girl. He wasn't even dating her for a couple of years. And he would talk to me all the time. And she's like, why can't I meet your sister? And I'm like, tell her I don't want to meet her because she's not your forever. She gave up that chance when she had babies for somebody else. You can't look at a man who's got himself together, makes good money, has no kids, does all those things and bring your little liability. Like, I knew that at 21. So how these women don't know that in their 30s is beyond me, that a man doesn't want your little liability from another man. I don't want a man with children from another woman that I have to help raise. Fuck that.
Oh, no. Hey, you know who Irv Gotti is?
Yes.
You saw the Drink Champs interview?
The one he did about Ashanti?
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, that I kept saying, clip, like, man, that was like 20 years ago. Give it up. Yes, I saw that.
He said something. He said he was dating a 25-year-old, and he's 53, 54. And he said while he was dating the girl, she asked him for $25,000 just because she was trying to start a hair salon, right? And Irv was like, I'm trying to figure out, why would you ask me for $25,000? And then I think Nori was like, well, you're an older guy, and plus she know you got it.
Why do you think she's asking for 25? You're basically her dad ramming down her vagina. Yeah, do you think she's doing this because you're handsome and the most amazing man? No, she's doing this because she wants to set herself up for a better future. So.
Yeah, so I say, when you're an older guy, and if you're gonna date, well, he's 50 something. And if you date a woman in the 20s, I say, and this is just me, it's a trade-off because you're the older guy, she's a younger woman, and if you want to be with her, you want to, have babies with her, get married with her, whatever. Now, the chances of she liking you just because of you as a person is slim to none. Let's just be honest. Now I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. But look, if there's a 20-year gap, 30-year gap.
Thank you. So ridiculous. Here is the thing. We don't have altruistic love, right? As humans, we are animals. We have instincts. And one of those main instincts is to survive.
Yeah.
Right? We are wired for self-preservation. There is no real altruistic love, maybe between a parent and a child, right?
Yeah.
But within romantic relationships, you want something from the other person.
Yeah.
They want something from you. That's the way it is. And yes, you can have two people who fall in love and it's amazing, but they're not being together without getting something, right?
No.
That's why it's called equally yoked.
Yeah.
So we need to stop acting as if people just coming, like a man coming in and dating me, whatever his reasons are, those are his reasons, right?
Yeah.
I don't even need to know those reasons because I'm dating him for my own reasons. I like a provider. I'm not dating a broke person.
Yeah, a lot of guys have a problem with that. Like, I'm like, look, like I give you another example. I use myself for example. When I was in the Navy, right? Now, I'm like, look, let's just call a spade here. I'm in the Navy. Look, women are throwing themselves at you in the Navy. I always say being in the Navy is the closest thing to being a celebrity. I mean, I'm talking to every country we go to. I'm like, this is crazy. Now, and I'm like, I'm not, it's not exciting about me. I'm like, I'm 20, 21 at the time, right? I'm 21 years old. I'm from South Carolina, a small town. I'm not doing anything that's exciting. I just got I didn't even have on a uniform most of the time. I have on my street clothes, but they knew they knew when the ship was pulling in.
Yeah.
So these women are acting crazy. They're yelling and screaming and throwing themselves at us. I'm like, look, just take it for what it is. And when it's time to go, it's time to go, bro. That's it. Then that's when I was like, at the time I was stationed in Japan, right? And I was like, look, man, you might meet a girl over here that's cool, man, that like you for you. If it happens, great. But it is what it is. Now some dudes will say, hey, I want her to like me just for me without being in the military. Look, I'm not saying it can't happen, but that's a part of who you are at this time.
And we're not living in reality if that's what it is. Like, again, I have a show called Fuck Your Feelings, right? Like that title isn't by accident, right? Like, I have to live in a space of logic. I have to see the world and reality for what it is, right? Like I'm an attractive woman with a pretty amazing body, and I also happen to be smart. But you don't know I'm smart until you get past the physical, right? So I understand that the first attraction a man has to me is my face and my body. And then I open my mouth and they realize that, oh, okay, she's got something else going on for her. But to get mad at a man who finds me attractive and that was his initial reason to try to get with me is ridiculous. It's like a man with money getting mad at women who want to date him because he has money, right? Like we want to get something because we are naturally wired for self-preservation. That's how it is. Like, let's just be real, people. And so that's why I'm like, you need to craft the life you want, right? I am very big on this stage in my life, crafting the life I want. I no longer have to worry about my child because she pretty much can take care of herself. Again, I just told you she's in Nice, right? My daughter, I've yet to go to France, and my daughter went to the UK. She's in Nice. She's doing all of the amazing things because I invested into her that allowed her to do that. And now I'm in a space where I want to carve out my life, and I want to cover up my life in a certain way with a certain type of man. Like a certain type of man, there are men who are going to think like my ass is too old. People have told me that on YouTube. I'm never going to find another man. You know, the manosphere said I was a hot milk, so I don't take that. But I've been told I'm never going to find another man. I'm too old. I'm going to buy a dog and die alone. The whole thing. Like, that's what people may think. And there are other men who are like, you're the best thing since sliced bread. I've had men since I broke up with my ex come to me and was like, we were just kind of waiting for him to be gone. We saw how you treated him. Like,
yeah, it's always gonna be like that.
We saw how you were treating him. Like, hey, like, what's up? So, like, I don't worry about that, but I'm very clear. But I'm going to carve out the life that I want. I'm not going to just live like we only like living life is the longest and shortest thing we do. Yeah. Right? Right. I don't know how long I'm going to get in this body, in this space, in this world. So I'm going to live the life that I want to live.
Yeah. At the end of the day, man, we all have choices, and whatever choices you make, you have. I mean, that's what you sign up for. That's what comes along with it. Yeah, you know. Now, sometimes you might not be aware of what came along with it before you made that choice, but you still made the choice.
Yeah. And that's what I've had to say to myself, and I had to say to people, right? Like, I made this choice to be with this person, and whatever came with it is whatever came with it. I'm not going to be mad at him for me making a choice. Now, it was not the most informed decision. It may not have been the informed choice. And once I got informed about those things, I then also still had to make a decision. And I had to make a choice of, do I stay in the situation or do I go? Okay, if I go, what am I dealing with? If I stay, what am I dealing with? Right? Like, there are all these stages that you go through. So I've never been a person, or I will never be a woman who blames somebody else for the results of my choices. And I'm also not looking for a man to save me from the consequences of my own choices. Yeah. A lot of women are doing that. Like, night after night, I watch Kendra G and hear women who come on asking for men to save them from the consequences of their choices. Sis, nobody told you to have multiple babies with multiple men. Nobody told you to have multiple babies with even one man and then divorce him and all these things. And now you're saying a real man will take me and my 6 kids. No, the fuck they won't.
No, hey, hold up. No, there's some guys out here that's like that.
I've only witnessed that once in my life. In my 43 years, I do know one person who had 6 kids. Her husband had no kids, and then he came in and she had a 7th for him, and that's his only child. So I've seen that once, and I've seen a lot of women. I'm 43, right? Like, so I've met a lot of women in my life. So yes, it can happen. Like Kevin Samuels used to say, possibility and probability. Yeah. It's possible, but it's not probable.
Yeah. So Irv was saying that he's probably going to have to go without a woman because he said he's not willing to risk meeting some woman, her getting close to the family and his friends, and then her coming in and taking all the money.
So Irv sounds like his picker is off. First of all, like, a woman doesn't need to have your money. You have lawyers, sir. It's called paperwork, right? Like, there is cohabitation agreement, there's prenups, there's postnups, there's all kinds of nups. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like, and as a man, as a 50-something-year-old man, if you can't decipher the type of woman you want to be with at this stage in your life, something's wrong with you. You guys are the hunters. Something's wrong with you.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what happens to a lot of guys. A lot of guys, especially being he's not. I won't say he's an entertainer. He's a producer and director, but he's around.
Got celebrity status.
Yeah, a lot of those guys are kind of like the most attractive women. You know, they don't really have no social skills. They never had to develop them, because when they were younger, people used to flock to them, and they wasted all those years. And they ran through people just like he ran through his wife. He did his wife dirty. You know, he had the woman that he wanted, that he's talking about today. He had his wife, but he did her dirty, and he ran through all those women and did them dirty. Now he's in the 50s, And when they get older, they have no personality. They have bad social skills. And now they're sitting around like nobody's around. People aren't coming around like that. And when they do come around, they got their hand out. That's what happens.
So he might have to get used to being used
Yeah.
for companionship.
Yeah.
It sucks to say that, but again, if you're emotionally inept, you're socially inept, because again, that interview just said to me, you have no social skills, sir.
No.
And you're emotionally inept. The things that he was saying, it was like, sir, like you're grown. That's too much info. However, at this stage in your life, like you just get used to being used and understand that if you're, and again, like this is not a man who was talking about the fact that he was dating mature women. So you're dating a 25-year-old. He's basically dating my daughter and my nieces.
Yeah.
And then questioning as a 50-odd-year-old, like basically grandfather, why these women are coming to him for money. Again, why do you think they're letting you sweat on top of them?
And plus, he's a diabetic.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So now you have to also take care of him and make sure his insulin is good.
Yeah. And you know they have problems getting up. Shit.
So he lives in the land of delusion.
And, you know, his ex-wife ended up moving on. He told her to move on, and that's exactly what she did. So hey,
because she was a good woman. Like at the end of the day, as women, we just need to show up as good women.
Yeah.
Right? Like most good women are married.
Yep.
When you're a good woman and you can add something to a man's life, that's important. And this is why I say that the men in my life, especially because a lot of the men in my life have things going on for themselves. And I was like, stop dating women who have nothing to lose, but will help you lose everything. Yeah. Right? When a good woman shows up in your life, you're supposed to hold on to that woman. And unfortunately, some of the men, like my ex, are unable to do that because of choices that they've made. Right? He is going to probably run into good women who do not want to be with him because of the choices that he's made. And then he's running around on Drink Champs at 50 something talking about crap that happened 20 years ago. And it's just like, no, like women don't want that. It's just a bad representation. Good luck to him, though. I wish him the best.
Yeah. He sold his publishing for $100 million. And that's why that's kind of why he came on the show. I don't think that was a good idea.
And you know why? He didn't have a woman in his life to tell him differently.
Yeah.
You understand? Like there is a reason most successful men are married. Yeah. Right? Jay-Z running around at 50 something single without Beyonce. What the hell do you think that looks like?
Yeah.
Every woman that comes his way, his life is going to look very different. Killer Mike talks about it, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Gucci Mane, like these are men who people think they've got good women beside them.
Yeah.
And so they make smart decisions. And so he had a good woman. He was likely making smart decisions. Now he's running around having sex with OnlyFans girls, I'm sure, and wondering why his life is not going the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah, man. You just can't. You can't run. You can't waste your youth just running through everybody like that. That's not a good idea, man. You know.
I mean, you can, and then you end up on podcast.
You end up lonely.
5-year-olds want money from you.
Yeah, you know.
Right?
I said, damn. I saw the interview. I said, oh, damn, Irv. Hey, you. I mean, you've been reduced.
And all that money, and still not a lick of sense. As Jamaican say, not a lick of sense.
Oh my God, damn, man. You know,
there is value to a good man and a good woman. Right? Like, there's real value, and people have to remember that there is real value. Like I tell people, my dating pool is not filled with piss because I'm not piss, right? I'm a good quality, valuable woman, and the men around me who come into my life see that. If your pool is full of piss, did you consider that you're part of the piss?
Yeah.
Like,
it is. I think there's a lot of value to having a woman on your side. There's like there's like a glass ceiling, right? Like it doesn't matter how I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter how great you may be, like or how good you might be doing when it comes to I guess your craft or um whatever you're doing in your life. But people see you different if you got a woman on your side or if you're married. And it happens sometimes within seconds. You know,
yeah.
they'll be like, "Oh, he's married. Oh, that's your woman, or whatever." You know, and sometimes I've gotten deals because people say, "Oh, that's his wife." Oh, okay, you know, I didn't know he was married. You know, the whole thing
They look
changed.
at you very differently. Like
Yeah.
honestly, even something as simple as your car insurance rates. Car
Oh yeah.
insurance rates are higher for single people than for married people. It's settled, right? You go into corporations. This is why a lot of men hire women to go with them to certain events. It looks better when you walk in with a woman on your arm, right? There are deals that happens because you, oh wow, he's settled. This means I can trust him to do this, that. Like there's a lot of things that happened in life when you are settled. My ex got a job because of our relationship and how I maneuvered and navigated the situation he was
Yeah.
in. Got a really great job. Again, he's talked about it on the show, on our show when we were
Yeah.
together. Right? Like there are things that absolutely happen. There is value, but you also have to be valuable.
Yeah.
And not every woman is valuable, and not every man is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when if you're gonna play that corporate game.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, especially. Yeah. Cause if you want to move up and if you're not married, the odds are against it.
Amen.
The odds are against
Amen.
it. Because it's not really about the job itself. It's much bigger than just the job, you know. And you know that's not my game. You know, I'm not a corporate guy. I work in those fields, but that's just not my thing. But I told one guy, I said, if that's what if you're gonna play that game, it's a glass ceiling. You know, you're not gonna be able to move up if it's just you.
There's certain positions single men and single women should not be in.
Yeah.
Like that's how like if I run a business and I have a multi-million-dollar business and I'm choosing a CEO, a CFO, a director, a VP, I'm not sure that that position is going to go to a single person. And there's a lot of things that go into people who have 6-figure, 7-figure jobs. Again, women just thinking that those jobs are given out and you just make that type of money. That's not how it works. There's a lot that goes into the process of choosing someone to take on certain roles in an organization. And whether we like it or not, there's a lot of things outside of just your resume that factor into that choice. I've been a corporate recruiter. I am a corporate person. I'm in a corporate job. I know how these things. I've hired people. I've been in rooms and had conversations when high-level decisions are being made. Again, there are factors that are beyond your resume that play into who will get that job and who won't.
Yeah. And this is why a lot of people that he might be a CEO of a company or he might be a new startup. This is why they like to meet up. This is why a lot of people they like going to conferences and they'll bring their wives.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, because I wasn't doing that in the beginning.
You gotta.
I wasn't doing
My
that.
ex used to take me to all of his work events. Even
Yeah.
if he was going by himself.
Yeah, I
And then he'd
wasn't.
be like, oh my God, nice to meet you. We hear so much about you. You're the woman who keeps them together. Yes, I am.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't doing that in the beginning until I caught on. I said, wait a minute. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, okay, I know now.
And those are real conversations. Like I've started dating again, and one of the gentlemen I'm dating, that was almost one of the conversations we was having. He's making some big moves in his company, and he talked about, listen, like I'd like to bring you out here and, have you at some of these events. And, what does your work schedule look like? And, I'm able to work, out of the country for like a month. And he was plotting this in his mind because he was
Yeah.
like, you will look great showing up with me. You happen to be smart and I'm great eye candy. So we
Yeah.
can navigate this room, right? Like he's in a world where having a woman help him navigate a room, and there's certain intel that I'm going to get as a woman that he's not. My ex used to do that all the time. We'd work rooms and he'd
Yeah.
come back and he'd be like, what's your assessment on such and such and such? And we'd go through it and we'd exchange notes. These are real things that happen, especially again, if you want to live a certain type of life. I'm not talking about if you're dating pookies and ray-rays and drug dealers. I'm talking about if you're dating serious men. There are, again, so many things that go into factoring whether you want someone in your life.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're young, you don't know. I didn't know everything. I didn't know all this when I was in my 20s. I didn't. I didn't know. I didn't start catching on a lot of this stuff until I was like early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
By just observing, and I met a couple of guys that we were in the military together, and he was like, he started drinking. I caught him at the bar. I said, "Oh boy, this is gonna be good." And he was like, "Hey, you know the reason why I bring my wife down here?" I said, "Why? Because she's the catch. She's gonna draw people in, right? She's gonna draw the wife in, the guy in, and I'll just sit back, and she'll bring them over, and she'll introduce me to everybody." And she said it's much easier that way instead of like walking around the room and and just talk and exchanging cards and all. He said, "Oh, fuck all that shit."
I'm just gonna bring my wife.
Yeah, he's
That's
like,
a smart man, and I'm sure he does really well for himself.
yeah, yeah.
Again, there's so much that goes into picking a mate. There's a lot that goes into picking a mate, and that's why I say to you, I say to people, listen, carve out the life that you want. Carve out the life that you want. Be very specific with the universe, like very specific about what you want and what you don't want. But the only way for you to realize what you don't want is to actually fail at something. You have to fail at relationships, or at least the smart people. Once they fail in one or two relationships, they start assessing the situation and looking at everything and breaking it down and saying, okay, what did I do? What did I didn't do? All of those different things, right? Like that's what we need to do. But if you keep making the same mistake, that's the definition of insanity. But you got to fail at something to realize, okay, this is why I fail, and then get up, dust yourself off, and do it again better.
Yeah.
That's how life works.
Yeah, a lot of guys, we don't know how to pick the right woman.
And that's fine because y'all are the ones doing the picking. But the problem is some of your penises are doing the picking.
Yeah.
And y'all are not doing the picking. And I used to say, listen, men have to remember, like, you have no choice after I get pregnant. You can hoot and holler all you want. If I want to have that baby, I want to have that baby. And my ex found himself in that situation where, I'm not going to talk badly about a situation, but he did not want that particular life. And then that's what happened to him. And I'm not with him because, again, you didn't know how to protect your seed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not every woman you meet who's cute and hot and's got a nice body, you guys got to come rawing. Like,
yeah.
It is your job to protect yourself, right? It is her job to protect her womb. But if she's not going to protect her womb, should you not protect your seed?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get one night stand babies. I don't get babies that are born a month after y'all are getting together. All of a sudden pop up, this woman's pregnant. You don't even know her middle name. Nothing about her.
Well, yeah, that's because most people are getting with each other and they don't really like each other. It was just a one night stand.
One night stand babies are like, when I started, it was honestly like I felt like I lived in a bubble for a while. And Kevin Samuel started interviewing all these women, and then I got on to Kendra G, and so many women, when they were asking about the kids, oh, we had a one night. How do you have a baby with a one night stand? And the man want to take care of a baby when he came for sex and left with a family.
Yeah, what people just.
How do you put your raw dick in a woman you're only having, pardon my language, on your show?
Oh, I know.
That baffles me.
Alcohol and drugs.
Oh, get off them. Like that's when you start wondering, you need to not have alcohol and drugs.
Alcohol and drugs, man. I grew up, when I grew up, and if you started talking to a girl, and if y'all had sex, and we're together now.
Yes.
That's how it was.
Yes. We're in a relationship.
Yeah, that's how it was. Now, when I left home and when I went to college and I started hanging around these athletes, football players and basketball players, I was like, this is a whole different world the way I came from. This is a whole different world. You got guys that didn't have no car, no money. They barely went to class. And the girls was coming in like,
yeah.
And I'm 19 years old at the time. This shit is blowing my mind. I'm like, because my cousin from back home, he's a frat boy, Sigma, right? So he's saying, hey, you can join in if you want. I'm like, what? So I'm like shook. I'm like, yo, I'm good. I'm like, yo, this is a whole different world up here, boy.
And as you recall, my ex was a former professional athlete. Apparently, that's what my pheromone attracts. I'm dating another former professional athlete. So
how it is.
Their world is very different, and I would have never caught them when they were young. Like I would never. I've dated athletes in my past when they were young, and the life that I see and just the women, they have no respect for the women there. When I dated a guy, we were on a date. I went to the bathroom. He was outside the bathroom waiting for me. A woman had taken the time to come find him at the bathroom, talk to him, want to give her number. He's saying, my girl's in the bathroom, I'm coming out. They were very bold, like
yeah,
a whole different world. And I was just like,
yeah. But when you have experiences like that changes your way of thinking, your mind. And when I went in the Navy, it was next level. That's when the drugs were everywhere. The women were everywhere, the drugs were everywhere. And I'm like, look, I ain't really that type of dude. I'm afraid of drugs.
That's brilliant. And it's funny, I'm also a former military wife. So my first husband is an Air Force guy.
Yeah. So everything is wide open though. And you can't really, well, you shouldn't live that life. Try to live that life for so long. You can't. It takes a
toll. It takes a toll.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And whenever I started hearing guys that maybe never been nowhere. They might have left the town.
Yeah.
They might have went 2 towns over or maybe never left the town. They start talking about, man, women want guys for money. I'm like, what? I ain't got no money. So I don't know what that all of that ain't true. What money? Look, if you ain't rich, what we talking about? You ain't rich. What we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of working class people, they just assume that they assume that everything is like a blanket statement. It applies to everybody. No, they're not talking to you, fool. You ain't rich.
This does not apply to you.
Yeah, because like a lot of guys will say, "Man, I'm afraid, man. I'm afraid to get a divorce. She's gonna take all my money." You ain't got no money. What are you talking about? You have nothing to lose. And like, well, she's gonna take my card, take my house. Well, go buy another one. It ain't really that serious.
It's so funny. That is so, because it's so true. People don't realize not every rule applies to you. Like I said, the 50-50 conversation. I've had guys who got mad at me, like, oh, you wouldn't pay 50-50. I'm like, you barely can pay 100% by yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you talking about you want me to pay 50% of some shit. Like, you're barely paying 100% just for
And
yourself.
it'd be like,
I'd be mad at me.
I'd be like, I gotta pay child support. Okay, how much child support is, bro? $100 a month. You can't pay $100 a month. You shouldn't have kids.
You shouldn't be having sex. And when you're in a space where you can't pay 75, 175, 225, 375, 425 for a child, you should not be having raw sex with some woman. Like, you need to wrap it up, like, triple it, because you're not in a position to be having a woman make a decision to change your life.
No.
As much as we have to protect our womb, we used to talk about it on the show, men are equally responsible for protecting their seed. I hear too many stories of too many men angry that women took that choice away from them. And I'm like, really, she didn't take the choice. The choice started when you decided not to put something on your penis that would have ensured that you don't have a baby with a woman whose middle name you didn't know.
Yeah. So I'm like, look, a lot of people are delusional out here. I'm like,
facts on facts on facts.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not rich. If you ain't rich, you out here with the rest of us trying to get it.
So what money does she want you for?
Yeah, exactly. She just as delusional as you are.
Yeah, what gold am I digging for? Fool's gold? I love when guys talk about when certain women are gold diggers, and it's like, sir, you have fool's gold. Like, what gold are they digging? That's not your experience. That's not your life. Like, stop talking about stuff you've never experienced. Or ain't nobody digging for no lint from your pocket.
Exactly. They just think that they'll look at the television or see some entertainer, a rapper. Even the rappers some of them ain't rich.
There's some of them are not rich at all. Some of these people that people think have money, they ain't got no money.
No. They spending the record label's budget
money. Facts on facts. Facts on facts. Facts on facts. And so people need to, like I said, carve out the life that you really want. And what does that life look like? And go out and get that life. And stop complaining about what you don't have, what's not doing, and what people are doing to you. People only do to you what you allow them to do to you.
Exactly. So hey, wait a minute. Hold up. I'm gonna pull up your YouTube channel.
Fuck Your Feelings, the show. I'm still doing the same show. Just now I'm doing it solo. So basically, we started the show, me and my ex, 2 years ago to change the conversation about back relationships. And we are not together anymore. I like to say, I went from wedding planning to being back on the market. But I'm still working to change the conversation around Black relationships. I believe in Black love. I believe in Black men. I know what two Black strong people can do together. And so now I'm taking people through my journey of singledom and what that looks like in being raw, authentic, and vulnerable, and talking about the missteps that I made along the journey and what my life will look like on the other side of this singleness. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Hey, what like the last 3 weeks, boy, Google put the hammer down on a lot of these channels online. Man, they took all them dudes' ad money. They shut them
really?
down.
Like, which dudes? Like Fresh and Fit and them guys?
Yeah, all of them. Boy, they put them had my man crying. He had to leave. He had to walk off the set.
Do you know why they did it?
They always change the rules. They've been doing that.
You can't depend on this to be your source of income. You're supposed to diversify. Like, I would hope they would have been taking that money that they were making and putting into other things and diversify.
Yeah, I know. This is my I had 5 channels, and I said, hey man, I'm never going to depend on YouTube ever again, man.
We don't own this. Like, we don't own this, right? And so they can take it. So everybody who's watching, there was videos of me and my ex, and I am still continuing this show solo dolo, but again, changing the conversation around Black relationships is what I'm working to do. And when it was me and my ex, he would speak to the men and I would speak to the women. Now that's me by myself, I'm speaking to the women and saying that we gotta clean up the game because we effed it up. And it's up to us to fix it. We can't blame men for fixing something that we fucked up. So
yeah, subscribe to her channel.
please, Fuck Your Feelings, the show. And I'm also on Instagram, also Fuck Your Feelings, the show. So follow YouTube and subscribe to YouTube and follow me on Instagram. And be kind. But I do have a thick skin. I'm Jamaican, so comments don't matter to me. So keep it coming, Manosphere. The Manosphere again said I was a hot milk, so I will take it.
Yeah, I never really I don't know any of those guys and gals over there. I don't know any of those people. I've always been kind of a loner online.
Keep it that way.
Yeah, I don't. Now, they know, some of them know who I am. Because I've seen certain people when I lived in Atlanta, but I don't know anybody personally. I'm like, because I'm kind of I'm a website guy. I promote websites and stuff like that.
Nice.
I do. And plus, I have an advertising background. So one site, I think by the time my third channel got demonetized, I was like, I got to learn how to advertise without using social media. And that's what I did. Because I was like, you can't, I can't, I'm not going to put all my time and effort and put
one basket.
Yeah, and some fool and YouTube is gonna look at my channel and be like, "Oh, I don't like this motherfucker."
Yeah.
No, I'm not willing to do that.
I'm with you, and that's why I have a corporate job. I have a consulting. I consult. I have 8 books on the market. Check out the Sienna series and No Handouts for Black Girls. Look me up, Toshiba Billings. I'm on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Google Play, and I have 2 shows and a radio show. I'm booked in today.
Yeah, hey, I started another podcast.
Good.
Online marketing secrets.
Good for you. Send me the link.
Yeah, it's man, I'm getting the best of the best.
Good. Because maybe some of my entrepreneurs I can send your way. Marketing is one of the most difficult things that we talk about when I do facilitate these sessions. So I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs over the last 2-3 years through a program I do here. I work for the Black Chamber here in Toronto, Canada. And so I've been with them for 2 years, almost 2 years, coming up on 2 years. And so I've had the chance, I facilitate up to 40 people in a session every 12 weeks. I do one-on-one. So marketing is a big thing. So send that to me because they may be able to learn something.
All right. And plus, you might be able to send some people as a guest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But all right, we've been on here for long enough. I'm tired.
I appreciate you. Me too. I actually am not cooking tonight. I was about to order some sushi.
All right. Later. I appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
All right. There you have it. Like, share this episode. Until next time. I'm out.
Alright. Just got the call, it's going down tonight. It's a lot of goodbyes here tonight. But then I saw the sky and that I like.